the fact that is life really fair to us? When I think about the concept right now, I come to the conclusion, does it really matter? Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Toastmasters. And today I'll be talking about my thoughts over this very common topic, which we often think about, the fairness of life. I will talk about it analytically and dissect it logically. As soon as I woke up yesterday, I realized that it wasn't a good day for me. I took a hard look at my life and I realized that at, at 28 years old, I'm not at the exact point I wanted to be in life when I planned about it almost 5 years ago. I called my friend and I ranted about my life for almost 2 hours. We often do this. We we take a look at our life, or if something bad or unfortunate happens to us, we blame our life for it. We we say that the life is not giving us enough opportunities as it is to other people. Before we talk and conclude about the fairness or unfairness of life, I think we should understand what life really is. Now, as an applied mathematician, I have a very different way of looking at things. I use the concepts in mathematics to understand everything. One of a very common topic in mathematics is of functions. Now, some of you might know what a function is, but some of you won't. If you don't know what a function is, it can basically be understood as a black box. It takes an input X and it gives an output Y. It's as simple as that. So in this case, for the function of life, the thing on the left hand side is our output Y, and the thing on the right hand side is our input X. When I talk about the function of life, any action which I take or any decision which I make every day can be thought of as an input, and any event or incident which happens to me as a result can be thought of an output. Let me try to explain that with the help of a story. One day on a Tuesday morning, I woke up at 9 a.m. and I decided to go for a run. As soon as I went out of my apartment, I was trying to cross the street. I got hit by a bus and I ended up in the hospital. Now, it's a fictitious story, but it's a realistic one. My friend, who also decided to do the same thing, he woke up the same day at 9 a.m. He went out of his apartment and he wanted to go for a run. On the signal, as he was trying to cross the street, he met a girl whom he ended up dating and marrying. Now you can see that we both took certain actions which were the input to the function of life, but we both got different results. Now at this point, I want you to think, do you really understand the structure of this function life? Obviously you don't, because it gives different outputs for the same input. I think now we are in a position to understand the fairness of life, because now we have defined what life is. The story continues. So I was in that hospital for almost 5 years. I had a lot of time on my mind, so I thought about an incident from my past and I decided to write a story on it. It turns out that writing that single story ended up into writing a book and a series of books, and 5 years from then, I was published author. In case of my friend, something else happened. The girl he ended up marrying wasn't the girl he thought she was. She was a con artist. He got a divorce after 5 years, but she ended up owning half his property. We both woke up on a Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. and we wanted to go for a run. 5 years from then, I became I became a published author, and my friend lost half his property. Now, if I ask you a simple question, is life more fair to me or my friend? What would you answer? I believe anyone to whom I ask this question would be confused because you don't know the end result, which brings me to my second point. If you don't know the end result, is it even worth worrying about the fairness or the unfairness of life at this point in time? My last and final thought about the topic is the sense of control. Now you can see that there are some things in a life which we can control and there's some things which we cannot control. For example, in my story, I couldn't control the fact that I'll be hit by a bus, but I could control that I can write a book and become a published author. In case of my friend, he could not control meeting the girl, but he could control marrying the girl. My last question to you is, can you do something about the things which you can't control? In a different sense, what I'm trying to ask you is that, can you control all the inputs which you give into this function of life? Obviously, the answer is no. You can't control all the inputs. So from now, if any of you face any situation, sad or unfortunate, before coming to the conclusion of the fairness of life, I want you to answer these three questions. First, do you really understand why it happened to you? If you don't, in most of the cases, can you do something about it? And if you can't do anything about it, is it even worth worrying about? Thank you for listening.